Thank you all for joining us. My name is Tony Quintana. I'm the Plant-Based Eating Program Manager with Animal Protection of New Mexico, a health educator, fitness instructor, and studied some nutrition as well. This is my wonderful co-pilot, Mickey.
I'm his wife.
Yeah.
We have 2 boys, and I homeschool, so I do a lot of cooking. And
She's taught me most of what I know about cooking. And
I discovered a lot of these recipes and adapted them for us. So
yes,
some good experience there.
So yeah, we're excited to share tonight. Oh, somebody else loves tofu scramble already. So we'd love to know how we make that. Yeah.
Okay,
so
great.
It's cool that we share how we make it. It'd be great to hear how other people make it as well. And we can all compare notes and learn together. We don't by any means claim to be like experts. We're not chefs. We just really like food.
Yeah.
And we like to figure out how to make really good plant-based food. And so we like to share that with other people. So our recipes are simple, easy. We adapt recipes to be so that you can make them with usually what we have on hand without doing a lot of extra shopping. And I'm a huge fan of things that I can make without thinking too hard.
Yeah.
So we
that are easy enough to get to the co-pilot or autopilot status pretty easily.
Yeah, and
pretty quickly.
Some of what we're going to share today, I'm there with, which is awesome. So yeah, hopefully you all enjoy. I'm going to put up our presentation. We're gonna have some slides, and then we're also going to do some demoing as well.
So we'll switch back and forth as needed.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll share some slides, and then we'll do some demos, and we'll kind of go back and forth. So as we go along, if you have questions, definitely put those. You can raise your hand. You can also use the chat feature. There's a Q&A box. You can kind of do anything, and we'll be sure to kind of keep a pulse on everything so that we could get everyone's questions answered. So just an overview of what we're going to do tonight. We're gonna just kind of start off with a quick little discussion about why egg-free. You know, if we're creating recipes that look, smell, and taste like eggs, why go through all the trouble to go egg-free? We're just gonna have a quick discussion about nutrition and animal welfare. There's lots of other reasons as well. We're just gonna kind of touch on those two. And then we're gonna share some different recipes. We're gonna do egg salad, tofu scramble, quiche, fried eggs, and then assemble some huevos rancheros. That's kind of the overview. So for the nutrition information that we share, like I said, we're not experts, we're not doctors or dietitians. And so kind of just remember that as we go through, but we do have some good information to share, right?
Yes.
All right. So just to kind of kick off, you want to talk about our
key ingredients? Yeah, so a lot of the recipes we're going to be sharing today involves tofu because that gives you the texture that you're looking for a lot of these recipes. And then we also do black salt has become a key ingredient. Before I discovered black salt, our recipes, they were good. They, sufficient, kind of did the trick or whatever, but the black salt really takes it to the next level. And then turmeric is for color and, of course, anti-inflammatory and all sorts of good things that turmeric provides as a side benefit, but we mainly use it as like the color to give it that sort of yellow, eggy color.
Yeah. So you'll see pretty much all the recipes have these three ingredients because it's the texture, the flavor, and the color. It's the 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
The black salt is a little harder to find. You do have to kind of search. Can't just grab it at the store. We buy it locally in Albuquerque at the Tallinn Market when it's open. It's in the Indian section. Or otherwise you can order it online.
Online, yeah.
We recently ordered this one, the Spice Lab, online. And
it's good.
That's been really good.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
Next is nutrition.
All right, so yeah, just a quick little overview of nutrition, why we would want to create the familiar, delicious taste and texture of eggs, but we might want to veer away from the actual eggs themselves. So eggs are loaded with cholesterol, which is cholesterol is something that is not found in plants. It is not. It is only found in animal-based foods like meat, dairy, and egg. So, and you don't need any cholesterol at all. Your body will produce all the cholesterol it needs. So any cholesterol you intake is just extra. And leads to disease, heart problems, etc. As well as saturated fat. Eggs are loaded with saturated fat as well. And there's some quick facts there in the graphic from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, looking at how much consuming eggs increases your risk for heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. It's really, when you dive into it, it's pretty compelling to reason to cut eggs out of your diet. And yeah, growing up, we were talking earlier, eggs were really a staple, especially scrambled eggs, omelets.
Almost daily.
Almost
daily. And before we went vegan, I used to say I could never be vegetarian, or I could never be vegan because I loved eggs and cheese too much. But here I am 4 years later, actually vegan. And breakfast was hard for me. I didn't really realize how much eggs I was eating until we cut them out, because I was like, I don't know what to eat for breakfast. And I didn't grow up on oatmeal, so that was like one I had to get used to. So these recipes were happily found.
Yes, yeah. Really took it to the next level. We were talking about Huevos Rancheros earlier, right before we started, and how that was really something I wanted in my life.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of just, this is a quick overview of the reasons, nutritional reasons, to switch over. This is a quick side-by-side comparison that I put together because I wanted to look at our tofu scramble versus a scrambled egg and what the nutrient profile really looked like. And I find it really interesting because one serving, when you do one serving of tofu compared to one egg, it's pretty comparable calories-wise and protein-wise, which is kind of what they're boasted for. Both tofu and egg boasted for, you know, a good protein source, a lean protein source. As we talked about, the egg is not really a lean protein, as people say. But, you know, fat, there's a little more total fat in the egg, mainly in the form of saturated fat. But what's really, you know, jumps out is the cholesterol. Like I said, plants have no cholesterol, whereas the egg has an extremely large amount of cholesterol.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot.
Yeah, it's about 3/4 of your recommended
for one
daily
little
allowance
egg.
for one egg. So if you have 2 eggs, you blew your daily allowance of cholesterol out of the water already.
Yeah.
And then, you know, even more sodium in the egg.
I was surprised about that.
Which is surprising. Yeah. And then the tofu is going to have a little bit of fiber per serving, whereas the egg has 0. Fiber is something that's only found in plant foods and not in animal-based foods. So we had a question on the previous slide about nutrition. How many eggs are you talking about to come up with those numbers? I believe most of those studies looked at daily consumption of eggs, and probably on the average like 2 eggs per day. Yeah. There are other studies that break it down further that show you like every egg per day takes, you know, X amount of years off your life. That the website that we pulled out from, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, they have great fact sheets and lots more resources to read more details about those studies that and those statistics that
how many eggs and stuff
were presented.
And nutritionfacts.org also has a lot of good information and goes through various studies as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then somebody asked if you'll have access to the presentation, and do you have information for where you get your groceries? I caught online but missed where. Yeah, so we will make the presentation available. I'll send a follow-up email, and that'll be available to everyone. And we can share, as we go through, we'll share where we buy certain things.
So the Spice Lab black salt that we just got, I just looked on Amazon for one that I felt was reasonably priced, and I found that one. So I got that on Amazon. But yeah, I would imagine there's probably some spice places online also that carry it as well, if you're you know, trying to stay away from Amazon.
Yeah.
So
we just haven't taken that next step yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's
good question. Thanks for asking that, for sure. So yeah, moving on, just a note about soy. Soy gets a lot of bad rap. There's a lot of misinformation out there pertaining to the health benefits or detriments of soy. And so we just want to point out there's loads of research showing that soy is not harmful for our health. It's actually protective against cancer, including breast, prostate, and colon.
And this is the mainly like minimally processed, not like soybean oil.
Right.
This would be like tofu, soy milk, tempeh, edamame, those kinds of things.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, in its good form, in its pure form, soy has protective properties against cancer. Another misinformation out there is that it can hinder reproduction or disrupt fertility. That's been debunked by research. It does not affect testosterone levels. That's another big misnomer or misinformation out there. And kind of these top three are all based on the idea that soy has estrogen, which is true. Soy does have estrogen. However, the estrogens in soy are phytoestrogens, meaning they come from plants, and those affect our bodies different than the estrogen that is floating in our bodies. That estrogen, ironically, is found in dairy and meat. When you drink milk, cow milk, or eat female bodies.
Because the animals have the hormones as well.
Right. So that's where you have the problems with consumption of the estrogen. Whereas the phytoestrogens in the soy don't affect your body the same way. They actually bind to the same receptors that estrogen binds to, and kind of that's where the protective benefits come into play. Soy has also been shown to lower inflammation, lower your LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, the cholesterol that carries fat to your arteries. So you definitely want that as low as possible. And soy is shown to lower that and lower risk of osteoporosis and hip fracture in people who consume soy regularly. So lots of health benefits. And again, there's a link for more information. There's a great fact sheet on soy on PCRM's website, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. All right.
So some other reasons to cut out eggs is animal welfare reasons. And the first thing we'll go over is a couple of myths that like to be slapped on egg cartons: cage-free, free-range, and humane. They're all, so cage-free is when they're not in the small little cages. And so they're not in that, but they're still overcrowded. And in atrocious living conditions, they're still forced to lay more than they would naturally. They're been bred to grow bigger, so sometimes they can't stand on their legs. And so it's still not this cage-free that you would think of. Same thing with free range. You kind of imagine, oh, they get this beautiful yard or this green space and they can be outside. And really, it's the same huge sort of warehouse type thing with the overcrowded conditions inside. And there might be a little door, like a little opening that they can go, some can go outside, but it's not truly free range where they get to walk around and do whatever. It's usually an enclosed space outside. And I don't believe there are any kind of USDA or FDA parameters around how big the space has to be.
Right. And some states have legislation or working on legislation now for cage-free bills that do specify how much space, like, the minimum amount of space.
Yeah.
And the one that's being worked on in Arizona denotes 1 square foot per hen. At least 1 square foot per hen.
Wow.
Which basically means no space whatsoever to move around. And that's for cage-free.
That's for cage-free, yeah.
Free range just says they have to have access to an outdoor area.
Yeah.
How big that outdoor area is, if they can actually logistically access that area.
Right. With the overcrowding, how many are actually getting outside, how many can be outside at one time, all of that. So they're really misnomers. They're myths. There's not really good regulation. And then humane, there's anybody can slap that on anything at this point. It's
they come up with their own
to try to make people
measures.
feel better. They self-regulate, and that's not always effective, the self-regulation and the self labeling type of thing. So obviously if they're overcrowded and they can't stand and they can't get outside, that's going to be some very stressful conditions, and that's of course done to maximize profit. And then there's a lot of hidden cruelty. I had never thought about like what happens to male chicks. I just thought, oh, they grow up and they become studs like horses or something, or a bull. But no, male chicks are disposed of immediately once they hatch. And in some instances, there's just a big, like 50-gallon drum with a large bag in it, and they're thrown in there alive. Or sometimes in some factories, there's a conveyor belt that leads to a grinder, and that's where the male chicks go. So it's really, really discouraging, and
it's one of the saddest parts of animal agriculture for me personally.
Yeah, that part was rough. I had no idea. And then something else, and this kind of with animal agriculture goes into a little bit in the environmental part of it, is just that the deforestation and habitat destruction of wild spaces in order to grow food for factory farmed animals. So for instance, the Amazon, is being cleared, a lot of it illegally, and 80%. And it's being cleared to grow soybean. And I double checked my fact that 80% of those soybeans being grown, or at least 80%, are going to go to animal agriculture. And that's true for most of the soybeans grown across the world. Something about 80% of soybeans grown go to feed factory farmed animals. About 14% go to like biofuels or like the soybean oils, and only about 6% of soybeans being grown agriculturally goes to soy milk and tofu combined in one. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing. If we can reduce animal agriculture, we don't need to have such massive swaths of land deforested in order to grow that much soybeans, because we don't really need that much for human consumption.
Yeah. So this is a sustainable option for us to switch to tofu from egg, right?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for, And somebody in the chat kind of verified that they watched an interview where somebody called on an organic poultry farm, and that's what they said, one square foot per hen.
I mean, that's what we just did for our garden. We did square foot gardening now. And so I know, I can imagine what that looks like. That's tiny.
Yeah, 16 hens in that little 16-foot square garden.
Oh God, that's crazy. They can barely turn around. Sad. That's Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and then somebody had a question too, had a friend who's vegetarian and had thyroid cancer, and her physician attributed it to her soy consumption. So I don't want to speak specifically to that because I'm not a doctor, but there is information about thyroid on PCRM's website as well, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Their research and information shows that it does not cause hypothyroid like many
or thyroid cancer
think, it doesn't cause thyroid issues like many people think it does. And so I would refer you there. Obviously, we want to listen to our doctors, but definitely
second opinions are okay.
Second opinions, yeah.
It's okay.
But PCRM is a great resource to read more about that. There's a new documentary coming out. I just saw it that Dr. Greger from nutritionfacts.org participated in, and it's called, I forget what it's called, but the premise is you'd be surprised at what your doctor doesn't know.
No. Yeah. Because most doctors don't get training in nutrition.
Yeah.
So
it's really
there's that.
Fascinating. Again, we're not.
And I think Dr. Neil Bernard just came out with a book called Your Body in Balance. And I'm pretty sure it's all about balancing hormones using a plant-based diet. So I haven't read it yet, but that just came out as well.
Good reading material.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Next is our first recipe, I think. Yes, the egg salad.
Cool. So we're going to do this egg salad. I used to like egg salad before, and what kind of inspired this was I used to make this super quick and easy sandwich spread where I would just basically mash tofu, mix in mustard, and that was my sandwich spread. And then I would add like lettuce and tomato. I'm a huge fan of foods that are healthy and super duper easy. And my sister came over to watch our son, and she said, "Hey, I had by the way, I had some of your egg salad that you had in the fridge." I was like, "I didn't have egg salad in the fridge. That was just tofu." So that made me think I could jazz it up and make a really good egg salad, something that really tastes like egg salad. So I start with tofu, and I like to cut it up into little cubes because that reminds me of kind of when you chop up, when you make egg salad with, you use hard-boiled eggs and chop it up. Oh yeah, let me switch. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Stop share screen.
I was still tiny. My apologies. So I start with the tofu kind of chopped up in little squares. That kind of reminds me of the little, egg whites, the hard-boiled egg whites. So kind of start there. And then I'm just going to assemble it for you right here. So add some vegan mayo. We like the Best Foods is really good. There's also Just Mayo, which is good, and
Follow Your Heart.
Veganese makes one. And I usually don't measure anything. I just do it till it looks good. But there are some ratios on the recipe if you kind of want to start with something, and then you just adjust it to your taste. So I put a dollop of mayo. I like some mustard on there, just whatever kind of mustard you like.
Tony likes a lot of mustard, so.
I do. And then we like a crunch in our egg salad. So I like to add some chopped celery or sometimes onion. Our kids aren't big fans of onion, so I don't always put it. I make sure they're not watching when I make it. And then you really just kind of mix it around. Some of the tofu gets a little mashed and some kind of stays in the chopped form, which to me really mimics the texture of the egg salad. Then we'll just add some spices. Parsley is really, I feel like, important for this recipe. Obviously, you can add whatever spices you like. And then a little salt and pepper.
Sometimes I do garlic and onion as well.
Yeah, garlic goes really good in it.
Garlic powder and onion powder.
And that is it. It's literally 30 seconds. And there you go, egg salad. Any way that you used to make your egg salad, you can add those ingredients to it as well. But it's simple as that. Oh yeah, and then the final touch, we add the black salt. Again, I don't really measure that. I measure it with my heart. And I wish you all were here to smell the egg. The black salt just really smells like eggs.
Yeah, it's got that little sulfur scent, and so that's where it gives you that scent and flavor.
Yeah. So.
It does smell like eggs.
Really smells like eggs here now. Yeah, so there you go, egg salad. Done, and we
Put
have
it on bread, toast, crackers, all of that. Right.
Again, the kids love it. They're big fans of it.
Let's see. Somebody asked about turmeric. I think you could add the turmeric if you wanted to.
That's what I was actually going to say that. This is the only recipe we have that doesn't call for turmeric. But mustard has turmeric in it.
Yeah, so it gives it
so that's where it gets some of that flavor from.
Yeah, and that yellow.
Not the flavor, the color. So yeah, you could definitely add it if you want. Okay. But there we go. I think I just want to check if we had a question.
Oh, celery seed. That would be a good addition to the egg salad. I agree. So, all right. All right. Let's see.
Olives. Some people like olives. I would probably.
I'm not an olive
she
fan.
She doesn't like olives, but
I wouldn't put olives.
So I might try that in mine. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, the kids like olives.
We usually do our olives separate.
Okay, so next is, we'll go back to share screen real quick. next, I believe, is Tofu Scramble. And this is pretty much a staple in our home. The kids really enjoy it. As you can see in that bottom picture, even their Lego minifigs enjoy our Tofu Scramble. And one block, it tends to be just the right amount. We always add veggies, so that bulks it up a little bit. And that tends to be just the right amount for the 4 of us right now, although we have a 13-year-old and a soon-to-be 8-year-old. So I think might be outgrowing 1 block of tofu pretty soon. But we tend to add bell pepper, onion. We like nutritional yeast to give it sort of a cheesy flavor. And a green, we like spinach in it. But really, it's just kind of whatever veggies you think sound good, and just throw it in there and go from there. And that's really great. So we'll come back out of the share screen real quick because we're going to show you how we kind of cut up our tofu. Because Tony used to crumble it up with his hands on top, but I like to take a fork and do this, and then do this and get it all under there. My hands are clean. Oh, it's just us eating it. My hands are still clean. And then I like to do this because then I can sprinkle all my spices, whatever I want, over it. And then when I'm ready, I can do this while my vegetables are sauteing. And then I just take this over to the pan and I scrape it in with the spices and mix it. And it's really easy to get a tofu scramble on the table pretty quickly, which is really nice.
Yeah. So. That's definitely the way to do it. My crumbling it with your hands way, I used to think it was the way, and then I tried it that way, and she was right. It was one of those she was right moments. And like you said, so you saute your vegetables, and then while they're sauteing in the pan, do that part, and then throw them all in. And I really like the spinach in it because it adds something to the texture that I'm just really into, and the color too. I like the colorful bit of it. So when there's some green in there, really adds to it, I feel like.
Close this one.
Oh, yeah.
So we can see the chat again. All right, so next.
All right. Where did the chat go?
I don't know. It's okay. All right, quiche. This is a favorite also in our house. We all really like quiche. And this was a staple for Christmas morning breakfast when we were eating eggs and stuff. So the first year after we went vegan, that first Christmas, I don't think we had quiche. We did something else. And then in that time, I found the recipe for this, and it's really great. And we provided a recipe for a no-fuss pie crust. And we're playing around with reducing the oil and increasing the water and seeing if we can get the same texture, and it cooks well and everything. So that's an option. But this one's really easy because you don't roll it out. You just mix it, form it into a ball, put it in your pie pan, and then you press it out. So that's really nice. And then with your filling, you take your tofu and your spices and soy milk and you just blend it up. And then I don't saute the vegetables that I put into the quiche because they cook just fine in it, but you could saute it if you wanted the flavor of sauteing your vegetables. But on this recipe, we just said green pepper, onion, and tomato. It's a really great combination. And spinach.
You need something green in there, I think.
Yeah. We've also done broccoli and tomatoes and onion and all sorts of variations and stuff. So this is really, really good. And it's good for being pre-made. Like you can make the filling or the pie crust the night before. And
then bake it in the morning. Hence the perfect Christmas morning breakfast. And so I love it too because it's so easy. You throw tofu, soy milk, and spices in a blender, chop some vegetables, and bake it. But one thing you want to make sure is that your tofu is drained really well.
Yeah.
Because if you don't drain it so well, then you might have to you might have to bake the quiche a lot longer. It takes longer to set if the tofu is not well drained. We kind of learned that when one day I drained it really well and it cooked faster. Otherwise, it could take the longer portion, an hour to bake or more. So yeah, I just wanted to remind people of that.
And we let it cool for a little bit before we serve it so that it also has that firm up a little bit more too. So, all right.
Yeah, and then on the sidebar we have the pie crust recipe, the no fuss pie crust, which we just found online, and it's really easy to make. You can make it fresh. It's delicious. It does have it's a bit heavy on the oil.
That's why I said we're trying to figure out if we can play around with the oil amounts. And we'll go from there. I did it the other day by accident, and it eventually came together, but we'll play around with it more to give it a sort of lower oil option. So, all right.
Yeah. I just saw a comment where somebody likes relish in their egg salad, and that is a fantastic idea that we should probably do. All right, so moving on from the quiche. All right, so next is fried eggs, which is one of the best things that we ever discovered since going vegan, I think.
Yeah.
Personally. And so, yes, to the relish.
Yes, to relish.
Yeah, so basically the premise is you make like your yolk.
Yep.
And then you have one block of tofu, you cut it in 4 slices, and you kind of pan fry those. That makes like the egg white, like the fried egg white. And then you pour the egg yolk, or we call it egg sauce.
Egg sauce,
Eggy sauce, that's what we call it in our house. Pour that on top, and there's your fried egg.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like a fried egg that you break apart. We're not that fancy, but the taste is spot on.
It's so good. This egg sauce was a game changer. So I found it from Hot for Food with Lauren Toyota, and I made it, and it was literally game changer. Tony was like, I want fried eggs and green chili. I want Huevos Rancheros. Like, it just brought more egg dishes back into our lives. And it's pretty easy. It's tomatoes and butter and nutritional yeast. It's really easy, and you just throw it in the blender and you blend that up, and then you put it on the stove to thicken, and then you serve.
Yeah,
really great.
The Hot for Food one is just a little bit more. There's a few more steps.
Fancy, yeah.
So we figured out how to simplify it to where you literally throw it all in a blender, blend it, warm it on the stove, and you're done.
Yeah. So she uses Campari tomatoes, which are a little bit bigger than grape tomatoes. And so if you're using a bigger tomato than grape tomatoes, then you do want to take the inside sort of juicy part out, because then that messes with the consistency of the eggy sauce. But I just always buy grape tomatoes. And so I tried it one time with what I had on hand, and they worked fantastically. And we don't have to, like, if the juicy part comes out when I cut them, fine, but if you could also just I think you're at the point where you just throw the whole tomato in. You don't even cut the grape tomato anymore.
How many steps can I cut out in this process?
Yep.
And it works fine without cutting the tomatoes, so that's what I go with now.
Yep. So
it's really good. And then we also sometimes we just make the eggy sauce.
Yes.
Or the yolk, we call it eggy sauce, to pour on hash browns, potatoes. Mickey makes a breakfast bake.
A hash brown breakfast bake that has hash browns. I cut up tofu really small, and whatever veggies I have on hand with some nutritional yeast and everything but the bagel sauce, and I just put it in a big old bowl, mix it all up, and then put it on a baking sheet and put it in the oven to bake. And then I make the eggy sauce, and then when it comes out, you just pour it on that, and it's so good. Or you could put all of that in a burrito. It's really delicious.
Put some green chili on it. That's my favorite breakfast in the whole wide world. I would eat it every day.
Good stuff.
And for dinner. So that's kind of our fried eggs. And then how we make our Huevos Rancheros. So basically, you make the fried eggs. You also have to prepare some pinto beans, and red chili. So we have the red chili recipe is really basic. It's right there on the left. It's easy to remember because it's 2, 3, 4. 2 tablespoons of oil, 3 tablespoons flour, 4 tablespoons of red chili powder, and put it together. It's super easy. Oh, somebody asked for the last recipe we discussed. So the recipe for the.
Oh, you know what we could do? Put all the recipes up on APNM's website.
Yeah, I'll make sure
we'll
that.
make that hash brown bake breakfast bake also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll send you that recipe for the hash brown bake. I don't know why we didn't include it. It's my favorite one. Yeah, we'll include it and send it to you all. So for the Huevos Rancheros, this is the best breakfast. We usually have this the day after we have Frito pies or burritos or something where we have leftover beans and red chili, because then we just have to make the fried eggs and we can put it together. So I'm gonna kind of assemble it. But yeah, basically you have the fried eggs, you put the beans and the red chili, you kind of drizzle it all together. And then, oh, you brought the corn tortillas. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. That's what wives do.
Mm-hmm. Read minds. All right, so I've got my plate here. This is the tofu that we pan fried for the fried eggs. So we kind of get that ready. First, we start out with some pinto beans on the plate. These are fresh out of the Instant Pot. And we just like to do a layer on the bottom. This is some freshly prepared red chili sauce, or red chili that we just made with that recipe. And drizzle some of that on the bottom for good measure. And then next we're gonna put some warm corn tortillas on top of this. You can do them on the stove if you have a gas stove. That is a good way to go about it. We like to put 2 tortillas there. Then I'm going to put my fried egg on top of it. So we have it just like that. We have a fresh batch of eggy sauce. And this is kind of, you can see how it looks there, kind of thickened up. We're gonna just drizzle that on top here. Finish it off with some more red chili on top. Kind of however you prefer, how much chili you prefer. So yeah, one of our children just gobbles the chili up. One likes light chili. I just pour the whole pan on my plate. Call it a day. And there we are. There's our fresh Huevos Rancheros, ready for our dinner. Awesome.
Okay. Oh, our dog is barking at us because he's hungry too. It smells good to him too.
Smells the food. Yeah, somebody put, ooh, vegan Frito pie. Yes.
Yes.
We've been doing vegan Frito pies for.
And we don't typically you can put crumbles as a meat replacement, like the Gardein beef crumbles and stuff. But we don't even do that. We just make pinto beans and red chili and just the Fritos and the toppings. And for us, it's really satisfying and tasty.
Mm-hmm.
The crumbles are for like next level, like we want to take it up a notch, or it's a special occasion, but you want to feed a lot of people, or kind of like that.
Right. And sometimes we'll use some cheese shreds on top if it's a special occasion. Sometimes we feel like we don't always need them. We also make a cheese sauce, which we have the recipe on the website, that we'll top the Frito pies with sometimes. That's really good too.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. So if there's any other questions about any of the recipes, go ahead and let us know.
I think we have one more recipe
Oh yes, we have one more recipe to share. I forgot one more.
Yeah.
Bonus recipe.
Yeah. And so this is for pancakes. This is, we wanted to include it because for egg free. We've been using flax egg. I was using flax egg for a long time for my baking because eggs had gotten really expensive for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was a way to stay within our food budget. But it's also delicious. You can see I still get really fluffy pancakes, and it works in cakes, all of it, muffins. And so we just wanted to throw that out there as well, but we didn't want to get too much into egg-free baking, just more egg-free cooking.
Yeah, so. This is focused on recreating egg dishes.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of recipes call for egg, and that's a good way to do it. And I think our pancakes are better now that we're vegan than they
really
were
good.
before.
Yeah.
They're more fluffy.
They're really delicious.
And an awesome thing about these, you can make them oil-free as well. We've used applesauce instead of oil, and they're just as good. Yep. Especially if you have a good sauce to go on top of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yes. Somebody asked, should one of those be baking soda? The 4th teaspoon should absolutely be baking soda.
Yeah.
I don't know why my brain makes that error every time, and I will fix it before I send it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 1/4 teaspoon is baking soda.
Good catch. Thank you. And we both looked at this too.
I just wanted to make sure people were paying attention.
You passed.
You passed.
So, and then of course, okay, let's see what's next. Recipes and the vegan dining guide from AP&M are all on the website, and we'll put these up there as well, and then send out these resources to you.
Yeah, the website also has replays of previous classes that we've done. There's a sweets and desserts class and an intro to plant-based eating. You can catch the replays. Links are on the website as well.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll send out the slides and the recipe. We'll put together
the hash brown breakfast bake.
Breakfast bake. That's amazing. And yeah, is there any other questions? Let's see. Let me double check the chat. Yeah, somebody else pointed out baking powder in 2 times. Sorry, you passed also.
So, all right.
Yeah, thank you all so much. This was really fun. Glad you all could join. If there's no more questions, that's all we have today. Please give us feedback of what you liked, how we could improve, kind of if you have ideas for future classes or topics or recipes you want.
And if you think of anything, if you think of questions or ideas or need help maybe finding a recipe or something, feel free to email Tony.
Plantbased@apnm.org. Yeah. You can reach out there,
reach out to him there,
or on the website, or our Facebook page. However you heard about the webinar, you can probably connect that way. But yeah, please reach out with questions, comments, feedback, all of the above.
All of the above. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being interactive. That helps us too. So
yeah.
Yes, the applesauce does substitute 1-to-1
on the pancakes. Yeah, just straight up.
That's how I've done it. And I've done the applesauce substitution in muffins and all sorts of baked goods.
Even biscuits.
Biscuits, I've even done it in biscuits. Yeah. The biscuits do come out a little different, but it's still pretty good. So
yeah, but it does work great for the pancakes.
Yep. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. You guys be safe too.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you for that. Yeah, be safe. You all be safe as well. And that's it. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks again.
See you next time.
Have a good night, everyone. Let us know how your eggs came out.
Yeah.
Plant-based eggs.